Cecile, thank you so much for coming in today. Tell our audience a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Cecile, and um, I am the founder of Go Blue for Clean Water, a nonprofit organization that works to build a community of world changers to come together to fight the water crisis around the world. But right now, we're focusing more in the Sub-Saharan Africa.
Oh, okay, wonderful.
Yes.
What is your previous career and educational background? Just curious.
It's interesting because me myself, I was born and raised in Cameroon. I left Cameroon when I was about 12 years old. Moved to the U.S. and my education goals, just like any African kid that comes, he wants to be a doctor or a lawyer. So my interest was to become a lawyer. So I went to school for that. And then eventually, somewhere in my path, I start working with a local chamber of commerce, African Chamber of Commerce, which really introduced me to different opportunities that are in Africa and that I wanted to be able to exploit. So I started working with them doing trip missions to try to bring different investors for different opportunities in Africa.
Oh, wow.
So that's
Good for
kind of
you.
like my background.
How long have you been doing that for?
Since we will say probably 2010.
Okay, okay,
Yes.
good. And how old is your organization now?
Well, my organization, I started working in that concept in 2013, but we officially like registered and launched everything started in 2015.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
okay. So how did the idea come about? What prompted you to start a nonprofit? Of all things, do you just wake up one day and decide, or was there any special circumstances that kind of prompted you to consider that option?
Yeah, no, like I told you, we left my family, left Cameroon when I was 12 years old. When I left, we came to the US. Of course, we was looking for ways to to make it in life, especially my mother. She was looking for a way to make it in life, so we decided to move to the US. We never really revisited Cameroon because to us it was almost an escape out of poverty, so we didn't really never thought about going back. It's not until I start working in different opportunities and saw the different opportunity that Africa had that I got my interest back into Africa. Although that I was going to different mission trips, we will always stay like in the nice hotels, nice. So you really, that disconnect was still always there. So I decided to, my mother and I decided to go back to my home country, my hometown. That was back in 2012, I believe. Yes, that was in 2012 for the very first time. So it was about 15, 20 years later.
That is so crazy.
Yes.
What was that like?
Oh, that was very interesting. One thing I've noticed, like especially in my own community, a lot of things kind of was still the same. I could kind of like remember the same business owner. He still had the same business. Like nothing added, nothing reduced to
Okay.
it. It was just small little things that I've noticed. But really, that trip, what got me was we had to go to the village. We stayed there, and one morning I just saw like kids just walking, early in the morning, go get water, and something just kind of like happened in my mind. I was like, oh my God, I remember I was that little girl, and I know that struggle, but I couldn't believe that in 2013 the same struggle was still going on with in that community. So that kind of just woke something up in my spirit that when I came back to the US, I was very interested in finding out if there was something that I could do. I know I was not no engineer in water. I didn't have no background in, that could really physically help. But I started doing a lot of research on the crisis, on the water crisis, and I realized that it was actually bigger than my small community. So I decided to do something about it, and that's kind of how about one thing that I know, I'm a very good person. very good networker. I have the ability of rallying people behind something, and I just thought that I could use that skill to be able to help where I can. So I came back. I decided to for that year. I decided to turn my birthday into a fundraising event, and just within my own community, within my friend, we was able to build our first water well, and that meant so much to me that I decided to keep going. And then everybody that was part of it was very encouraged and was very happy. So everybody just had that touch of, we did something that changed. We didn't really have to do much.
Yeah. And it wasn't all it was. It's not like they had to do much. It was
Yes.
a novel idea to turn a birthday party into a fundraiser.
Correct.
And get some people together that care.
Yes.
Care about you and care about what you think matters.
Exactly.
And care about the cause. Wow. That is
And I was
impressive.
actually very surprised that my friends, circle of my friend would care that much that, to that. So that made me really think even harder on it.
Yeah. So you throw a birthday party, you raise some funds. What do you do next? So that was that aha moment, right?
Yes.
What happens next? Walk us through some of those initial steps.
Well, the first step with the birthday party, we actually had to use a organization that was already on the ground doing that work. So we kind of just donated the money to them. So they did all the steps. So I never really got to know really the struggle behind it. But eventually I decided to register my own organization. The step was pretty simple. What I had to do was register the name, the corporation, and then eventually do more paperwork to become a 501c. And from there, what I did before, with the parties themselves was just kind of like different organization or different community will send in a proposal about, proposing their community. And then we will work on we will choose the one that really touches us. And then we will work on that. And then we will do the parties to like raise funds for the particular community. But what we have found that what we really wanted to be able to capture our impact, and working all over the place was kind of hard to be able to do that. So what we've done is we have concentrated our effort in one particular, we started with one country, one community, so that we could really be able to capture that impact and work really with the community. Once we get that community together, then we move on to the next. Then we move on. So we have a roadmap of how to make it right and really how to touch the aspect that we want to touch. Besides just giving access to clean water, we do so much for that community. Just through the access to clean water, we do so much to that community. So we want to we want to track the health progress in the community. We want to track the education progress in the community, and we really want to track how much the aspect of bringing clean water in a community, what it really does to women, because women are really, are usually the people that are most touched. So, and that's where really my heart kind of comes in with this cause. And we really want to be able to do that. So we focusing in one area, really, really get our program there and really be able to really focus on getting these impacts so that we could just repeat to other communities.
What is the biggest lesson that you've learned since you started your organization? It's been a few years now. So what is the biggest one or two takeaways?
Yes. The biggest lesson I probably have learned is that when I was starting a nonprofit, for somehow in my head, I thought it was very different to a regular business. I just thought it was going to take less work. But one thing that I have found out that in order to successfully run a nonprofit organization, you have to run it as a business. You have to get every step that you do within a business, as far as a business plan, a financial plan, like up your skills, have skills to actually provide. It's all that still part of being a nonprofit. And that's something that I have really learned, because I just thought you could go and tell a story and say, oh, we could learn, we could help these people, and everybody would jump on it. But no, you also, as a nonprofit organization, there's something beside that impact that we're all looking for at the end, that you still have to offer for your donors and people that supporting you.
Mm-hmm. And what is success to you? How do you define success right now, having been through, a traditional career path, having started your own organization, having succeeded clearly along the way? What does success mean to you today, looking back and forward?
Success to me is being able to do something. It's being able to look back and see and have no regret on what you see, and be proud of what you have done. I have not really, never really put a price on my success, because I know I could just continue to soar and soar. So really, being successful to me is that starting something and accomplishing it. It doesn't matter how small or how big it is. We always have to celebrate our finishes.
What is the first thing you do in the morning to start your day on the right foot, to kind of jumpstart your day and be able to handle all these different tasks and projects that you have going on every single day?
That's a really good question, especially working with the program in a different time zone. You really kind of have to plan your day. You have to have everything written down. My day typically starts with 3 a.m., get up, make a phone call to the local office in Cameroon to make sure that they have the day plan. And then I will get up and, just trying to check my email, see if there's anything there so that I could plan my day accordingly. And then just the biggest thing with me right now is planning, and having to write everything down so I could visually see it.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I'm sure our audience can really relate to, being efficient time management and learning
Yes.
how to constantly improve, how to win the day with the few hours that we have. So tell us a little bit about your recent trip. I remember you telling me that you recently came back from Cameroon, doing great things and
Yes.
starting new projects over there. So tell us a little bit about that. What's been happening with you recently?
Yes. Cameroon. See, after so many years of doing this myself, and I'm just so, what can I say, like, I won't say surprised. I was just so amazed at how little it took for me to take action. And then I look back and I remember those doubts that I have, that, oh, I'm just too small to make any difference. Um, it just made me think. So what we did was we started one program in Cameroon where, like I said earlier, like the water problem hits affect women a lot more. So I just had this wild idea, like, what if I could get other young women to stand behind this cause? What kind of impact and what kind of ripple effect would it have to communities back home? At first, it was just a wild idea, but but then I got on it, start working with it. So we have a program that chooses 40 girls and work with them in the process of actually building a project themselves, and ways to go by and fundraising, funding for a different project for their communities. So that's just been a big project that kind of like been taking a lot of my time, and it went well. I was just very surprised of the talent, the kind of talent that was found in these communities themselves, so that they just needed that platform to be able to really make a difference in their community. And I don't think that many people really look at it that way. It's always, oh, we're going to get some funding from somewhere else, without knowing that we actually have the talent, the skill, and the people within our own community that could make that difference. They're just looking for that platform. And I was and that's what Go Blue for Clean Water is offering to these young girls in their community, so that they could be able to make a difference. And it doesn't take a big person. Anybody with passion could make it happen.
Wow, see, you're full of innovative ideas and better ways of doing it with fewer resources.
Correct.
I would say. Yeah.
Yes.
That is amazing. So let me ask you this: which skills are underrepresented, and what talent is missing in the nonprofit world?
I think, and which is one of the reasons why I started a nonprofit. I feel like the creative thinking aspect of thinking outside the box
Right.
is missing in nonprofit, because we're dealing with so many powerful situation. We're dealing with strong things. So people are usually scared to step outside. Nonprofit are very scared to step outside the box, because they want to keep that seriousness, and they want to be able to convey the message directly. So, but I believe that, and that's one thing that I looked and I saw, everything was kind of like, every nonprofit was just, the message was kind of like always the same. Everything is just straight up and down, no outside the box thinking. And that's what I really think that is really missing in this industry, and that we really should like think more on that, and really get people into this nonprofit who will really think outside the box, and and make bigger things. And one thing that I have always said, even when I speak to people, I'm like, the problem is there. Is not about the problem, but how we're gonna win this, and that's what we want to celebrate, and that's what we want to show people, that we are able to win. We are able to like conquer this, and in order to be able to do that, we have to go outside the box to do this.
So, Cecile, what advice would you give to those that are looking to transition to a different industry, and perhaps are more interested in mission-driven organizations rather than profit-driven? So what advice would you give to somebody who is thinking about getting into nonprofit?
Well, the one advice that I would give somebody would be like, follow your heart, and really make sure that whether it's a profit or nonprofit, that there's an aspect that really could change other people's lives. And that is one thing that we work a lot with. We work with smaller, not smaller, like mid-sized businesses that don't have that don't already have the budget to like to run a foundation on their own, and things like that, to give back. So we have the opportunity to working through with us to build cause marketing together, because it's very important for anybody who works for any organization to understand that the work that you do, even in that it's the way for you to make a living, is also changing somebody's life somewhere. To me, is a lot more important. So that's the advice that I would give anybody who's not happy with it and trying to change their career. Just make sure that your company or yourself are making a difference in the world.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. And so when it comes to actually selecting people, interviewing people that you work with as a leader of your teams, what sort of talents, personality traits, skills do you look for, and what types of candidates stand out to you?
Passion, passion, passion.
Okay, good advice.
Because you could teach them many skills, but that passion has to be there, and that's the first thing that stands out to me.
Yeah, so being authentic and really understanding what drives you, what motivates you, what impact you want to make in life,
Yes.
and kind of being authentic and communicating your personal brand and mission in interviews. So yeah, passion.
You're good at.
Okay, very
You're good
good.
at this. Yes.